Yes, it's working. Good. Okay, we're live. Got my diet Sprite. Okay, thanks everybody for coming. 4th of July, live stream. Man, there's so much to talk about. There's so much stuff that's been going on. Sometimes it's hard to focus. You're trying to focus on one thing and something else happens over here. I mean, it's just been one of those weeks, man. It's like one thing after another has been happening. So I'm going to try to go through some of the big things that happened in the last couple of days. So first, tonight we're going to start with our favorite leaking congressman, Adam Schiff, walking into a trap. And I remember in late June, somebody, we don't know who yet, officially, decided to take some highly classified intelligence about Russian bounties that were being offered to Taliban fighters to get them to do something they've been doing for more than 18 years now, to get them to go out and try to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan. Yeah. And so this story broke. And immediately everybody comes out, everybody's in a position to know. The president, vice president, the current national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, the director of the CIA, Gina Haspel, the head of the National Security Agency, the ODNI, that all come out and say, this Russian bounty information is nothing more than a rumor. They have not found any evidence to corroborate it or verify it. So it was never passed up the chain and briefed to the President of the United States. They only do that with something where it's what they call actionable intelligence, which means they have something that shows that this is a very real threat. You don't just take every wild, hairy-ass rumor that comes down the pike and rush that up the chain to the president's desk. Once again, people are falling for a hoax because they don't know how anything actually works. So the story gets leaked, and Schiff and the Democrats spend the next couple of days, on high dudgeon, pounding the table. What? This is an outrage. How dare the president be briefed on this and not take any action? How dare he be, not calling Putin to account for this. He doesn't care about our troops. He's letting he knows the Russians are paying the Taliban to go out and kill our troops in Afghanistan, and is not doing anything about it. And then something amazing happened. The Federalist published a column in which they proved Schiff and his staff were briefed on this Russian information back in February. And that was not supposed to come out. Nobody was supposed to know about this. You see, the only way they would ever have tried to launch this new hoax is if Schiff and company were assured that their tracks were covered and they had plausible deniability, and nobody was ever going to find out that Schiff had known about this unverified and uncorroborated Russian bounty information, back in February, and that he sat on it. And see, he's a member of the Gang of Eight, and he's the chairman of the House Select Panel Committee on Intelligence, HPSCI, long acronym there. He's the chairman there, and he has the authority to inform the Gang of Eight of this stuff. If he thinks it's actionable intelligence, he doesn't need to wait for permission from anybody to do that. He can do that himself. The Gang of Eight or the House panel that he chairs on intelligence. He could do that. And gee, he didn't do it. He sat on this since February and told nobody. And so Schiff's right there, right in the middle of pounding the table, demanding to know why the president didn't act on this, why he didn't tell anybody about it after he was briefed on it. And right while Schiff was in the middle of doing that, the Federalist prints a story. I'm going to link it right now on my Twitter. You'll be following my Twitter right now to make sure you don't miss it. The Federalist prints this story that talked about the fact that not only was Schiff's team in Afghanistan back in February on what's called a CODA, that's like an official congressional delegation trip, okay? So they're in Afghanistan in February, they're briefed on this stuff. And those kinds of trips, they're supposed to be entered into what's called the congressional record. There's supposed to be a record. When congressmen send their staff on these trips, they go to these foreign countries on what were like their fact-finding missions, you know. And they're supposed to put a record of that in the congressional record so people will know what the congressmen and their staff have been up to. Well, as the Federalist explains in this article, the CODA that Schiff's staff went on to Afghanistan in February, nobody ever entered that into the congressional record. It's not there. So it looked like, you know, if anybody went and looked at the congressional record, did Adam Schiff have staff in Afghanistan in February? And you wouldn't find any record of it. You wouldn't even know about it until the Federalist published this article. And it's interesting to watch how Schiff responded to this. It was the easiest thing in the world for him to do, if this is fake, is for him to go outside and find the media's cameras and say, look, I don't know where this rumor started, you know, that my staff was in Afghanistan last February, and while they were there, they were briefed about these Western bounties. I don't know where this wild and crazy idea is coming from, that I knew that me and my staff knew about this since February, you know, but it's not true. Okay, he's had, you know, what day was this published? The Federalist published that story on July 2nd. So he's had 2 full days to come out now and say, well, the story's not true at all. That never happened. My staff didn't take this trip to Afghanistan. They weren't briefed on any Western bounty program. Well, this is absurd. You haven't done it. Instead, what he's done is he's complained about the White House briefing him. Several days ago, the White House briefed the Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee about what they knew about this Russian bounty allegation. And Schiff came out and posed in front of the media cameras and stuff like, wow, you know, if the wrong people were giving this briefing, you know, we didn't have the right people talking about this. I don't want to hear about this from the White House, you know, screw those guys. I want to hear about this from people who know what they're talking about. Good. Because Schiff got his wish the very next day. The very next day, the Gang of 8 got an intelligence briefing. The entire Gang of 8 were called in and told that about this Western bounty program. I'm linking that next. And the people doing the briefing are CIA Director Gina Haspel and the director of the National Security Agency, the NSA, Paul Nakasone. Okay, so you don't get any higher than that when it comes to American intelligence. The only person higher than these 2 people would be ODNR John Ratliff right now. So this was the CIA director and the NSA director briefing Schiff and the other 7 members of the Gang of 8 yesterday. And the thing you have to know is Schiff and the Democrats have pulled this same dirty trick several times now, where they pretend that some whistleblower is coming to them and they're shocked and surprised to discover this information. And then they demand to know what the president knew or what the president thought he was doing. Think back to the Ukraine Gate phone call hoax. Think back to how they ran that one. Schiff and his staff were coordinating behind the scenes with the whistleblower, Eric Samarella. Before that official complaint was ever filed, they were already coordinating with him behind the scenes. And then they pretended they didn't know a thing about this until a whistleblower came forward and filed a complaint, and they were shocked to discover that the president of the United States was threatening Ukraine by withholding military aid unless they launched an investigation of Joe Biden. They were shocked to discover this. Of course, they got caught. You see, here's the thing. Schiff's not very smart. They got caught back then. We discovered that his staff was coordinating behind the scenes with Samarella. And so, of course, they pressed through and they impeached the president anyway, and the whole thing was a hoax. The whole thing was a joke. So the thing here is they're trying the same playbook. Schiff discovers this rumor, this highly classified intelligence rumor about Russian bounties being offered. It's briefed to his staff in Afghanistan in February. He sits on it. It's not actionable intelligence. There's no verification. What could you do? It's just another wild, hairy-ass rumor in a sea of wild, hairy-ass rumors, okay? You can't act on it because there's no evidence. It's just something that somebody heard or suspected. And when he sits on it, the months tick by. Now, you may remember back in early May, Pelosi and the Democrats were making noises about investigating Trump because they were approached by whistleblowers who told them that Trump was briefed on how bad the CCP virus really was in early January, and he did nothing. And so they were going to investigate. What did the president know? And when did he know it? And that one died in like a week and a half, and you haven't heard about it since. They realized that one wasn't going anywhere, so they dropped it. Then all of a sudden, we're now into June, and I don't care about this confident, bold face the Democrats put on. Listen, they know they're in serious, serious trouble. They do. So they're sitting together and they're brainstorming and they're spitballing and saying, damn, okay, the Ukraine phone call hoax didn't work. The pandemic didn't take them out. The economic collapse didn't take them out. The economic shutdown didn't take them out. And we tried to launch a hoax that he knew about the virus before he really did, how bad it was. That didn't go anywhere. Okay, it's like mid-June. Now what do we do? How are we going to get this guy? And Schiff had a little light bulb go on. He said, aha, listen, I know what I can do. I can go back to that information my staff was briefed on in February, and I can weaponize this intelligence, and then we can leak it to the New York Times, and we can claim not only was this actionable intelligence, but Trump was briefed on it, and he knew about it, and he didn't do anything. And we could turn this into a new reason to investigate him and get another impeachment going. Sounds good. So they tried this. And let me tell you something. The only way Schiff would have had the confidence to do this, the only way they would have moved forward on actually leaking that highly classified intelligence to the media would be if they were positive that they would not be exposed, that the fact that Schiff's staff was in Afghanistan in February. The fact that would never come out, that would be the only way they would go forward with this. And we're in like what, day 3 or was it 4 of their launching this new hoax. They're right in the middle of pounding the table. My God, why didn't the president do anything? And all of a sudden, that story shows up at the fundraiser, and the whole thing blows up in their faces. The whole thing blew up on them. It's already over. Sure, you'll hear people scream, they'll try to carry on for a little bit and pretend like there are still serious questions that we make. But look, it's over. The Russian bounty hoax is over. Schiff knew in February. He doesn't contest it. He hasn't come up with that's a lie. My staff would never breach. He's not going to. So the only reason they moved forward and they tried this is that they had an expectation of how this was going to go, and it already blew up on them. So Schiff has gotten so arrogant because they got away with this multiple times in the past, and he can't say. Is there a good way to put this? He was just demanding a real briefing from people who from the right people just 2 days ago, and yesterday he got the real briefing he wanted. He got the CIA director and the NSA director, and I haven't heard shit from Schiff in 2 days now. And remember something else: the CIA already filed a criminal complaint with the Department of Justice. They said this was a serious investigation that was ongoing. We had this rumor. We were trying to track it down and try to find evidence to verify it. And somebody leaked this to the media, and the whole investigation is blown up now. And somebody needs to pay for this leak. And the Department of Justice accepted that criminal complaint, and there was an investigation underway now. And if I was Adam Schiff, I would not be sleeping easy tonight. I mean, you got to understand that this guy's trapped. He's exposed. We've known for years this guy is a leaker. We've known for years this guy's been leaking and leaking and leaking. Quite arrogant about it too. He's been getting away with it. Leaking and getting away with it. Leaking and getting away with it. That's why I think somebody set him up. It could be that whole Russian bounty thing was fake to start with. Somebody set him a canary trap. That very well could be. But the indisputable thing is, he knew in February, and then he tried to attack the president of the United States for not acting on what Schiff knew about in February. It's insane, okay? And because the media doesn't talk about it, they don't say, wow, Schiff just got caught. This is very embarrassing. Sure, you don't really see any real effects from this yet. You don't see the effects of Schiff having been exposed. But trust me on this, it's over for him. The Department of Justice is going to find out who leaked this to the New York Times. And let me remind you, the federal code, the unauthorized disclosure of classified information, the penalty for that is 10 years in prison. See, it's such a serious crime. The statute of limitations isn't the usual 5 years. It's 10 years. It is a federal charge. So whoever leaked that information to the New York Times is going to be charged by a U.S. attorney. It will be charged in federal court. If that person is convicted, they're going to do 10 years. So we've had to watch Schiff's antics for going on 3.5 years now. The good news is, I don't think during Trump's second term, we're going to be watching Schiff do much of anything, except try to keep from going to prison. Okay, let's move on to the DNC coverage of President Trump's Mount Rushmore speech. You know, one of my favorite followers on Twitter is Molly Hemingway. He's a great commentator. She's very thoughtful, very articulate, and she's a very calm person. And she had I was following her Twitter feed this morning, and when she was seeing the way the DNC media has been covering Trump's speech from last night, she had she had some really pointed tweets, and she sent them right to the people involved, like Robert Costa of the Washington Post. He sent a tweet to him. You can find it. Okay, first he made a comment like this: Republicans ought to be extremely happy with how much that speech had the entire media complex apoplectic with rage and resorting to 100% lying about it. An unquestionable sign of its quality and success if they are all hands on deck lying about it. And that's exactly what they're doing. So she went on to tweet right at Robert Costa, who wrote an incredibly biased story at the Washington Post. She said, that's not within a million miles of reporting. It's just lying in a particularly vile manner. And then she went on later to say, it's genuinely disgusting to see you lying like this. Have you no integrity? None. In case, Molly is a Christian. She wants to believe the best about people. And some of these people who moved into the lefty media used to be members of the righting media, some never Trump types and people like that. And I'll tell you one thing about Trump becoming president and the successes that he's had is that it has completely and totally exposed a lot of people. A lot of people who we thought were on our side, or who we thought may not have been enthusiastically for us, but they weren't exactly enthusiastically against us either. And what Trump has done is he's made these people drop their mask. He's made these people reveal who they really are. And when you look at the media's coverage of that speech last night, they know Trump hit a home run there. Trump did exactly what he needed to do. He needed to draw a line in the sand and say, look, you've watched the last couple months what the Democrats have been enabling, what they've been enabling and supporting. It's they scream about racism, that's a cover. It's not really about racism. It's not really about America's systemic racism, which we need to change. It's not about that. It's an attack on our constitutional republic. It's an attack on the American founding. They want to take that and replace it with something else. That's what it's about. And so Trump is very clearly drawing that line in the sense that you'd have months at this point to see what these people stand for, where they're trying to take this country, where they're trying to lead things to. And so all he's done is saying you've got to make a choice. I'm going to have nothing to do with that. I believe America is a great country. I believe this country was founded by people who were political geniuses. Yes, they were flawed. Yes, they weren't perfect. But this is the greatest country in the world. And we were gifted with an incredible system, an incredible heritage here. And he's not going to stand back and watch people trash it because they want to replace it with, Marxist-Leninism or something like that, And so these people scream racism, and it's just a cover, It's like that guy. It's like somebody trying to trick you that they're trying to distract you with one thing while they're really doing something else. So they yell, racism, racism, racism. They get started with, let's tear down this Confederate statue. Yeah, evil, bad Confederates, defending slavery and stuff. And they tear that down. And then before you know it, like a week later, yeah, tear down that Ulysses Grant statue. Yeah, get that Thomas Jefferson statue out of here. Teddy Roosevelt, you're gone, man. Okay, and it's like normal Americans are watching this. I thought this was about Confederates. You know? And these are the people Trump did that speech for. Yeah, you're watching this. I can't believe it either. Wow, it's a great country. And they want to tear down Abraham Lincoln statues. I say, oh, that's a bad statue. Let's get rid of Abraham Lincoln. Let's get rid of Ulysses S. Grant. You know, so he did what he needed to do with that speech, and that's why the media has to lie about it. They don't want people to actually watch the speech. They want their audience to only read their summary of the speech. But that speech is available on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing beginning to end yourself. They're just counting on people being lazy. Counting on people just. I'm just going to read the CNN summary. I have an hour and a half to watch Trump's actual speech. I'll just read the CNN summary of Trump's speech. I'll read what this guy from Washington Post has to say about Trump's speech, but I'm not going to actually watch the speech itself. Why would I do that? So that was an amazing speech. Trump did everything he needed to do. The media, of course, have to lie about it. Now, there's something about a tactic that the Democrats are using I want to go into. This is the tactic all Marxist abuses have used all over the world. The Democrats use foot soldiers in the streets to pretend that there is a popular uprising happening. There is a popular movement occurring. And all they're doing is responding to the voice of the people. And people are saying, get rid of these statues. And, they're so kind and caring and compassionate people that all they can do is listen to the voice of the people in the streets. And so these Confederate statues have to go. Yes, they do. And we need to get rid of Columbus Day. And then while we're watching this, and yes, we need to get rid of Ulysses Grant. We need to get rid of Abraham Lincoln. We need to get rid of George Washington. It gets absurd. But what matters is how it starts. They start with the mobs in the streets, and they say, oh, look, we're only reacting to this popular uprising. We're only listening to the voice of the people, which you evil Republicans, you aren't doing that. You aren't listening to the voice of the people. But we're listening to the people, and you're not. And that's why all of a sudden it's moved from the Marxist goon squads using chains and ropes and shit on the street. All of a sudden you have Democrats in city halls, Democratic governors, Democratic mayors. Why, yes, that statue is very problematic and it needs to go now. And so we're going to remove this Teddy Roosevelt statue. So that's how they make the transition. It's about the transition. They pay and enable and train up these Marxist goon squads to go out there and start the ruckus. And then the Democrats go, what's that ruckus out here? Oh my, the people are upset. Well, my goodness, voice of the people, what has you upset? Racism. Okay, yes, you're right. Yes, Confederate statues need to go. And they started that way. But because they're leftists and leftist overreach, they can't help themselves. These people have no breaks. We've gone like a month from Confederate generals to Lincoln, Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, Grant. That's why Trump picked Mount Rushmore, and they know it. They know that's why Trump picked Mount Rushmore for this. It was perfect optics. I said even before he gave the speech, this is what he's doing, and it's a fantastic idea. He's going to clearly show the difference between them and him. What they represent, what they're trying to lead America to, and what he wants to do, and where he wants to lead America. And he did that, and he was enormously successful at it. And that's why they have to lie about the speech. So let's talk about the human orc arrest. The human orc arrest. there was this guy that was leading that protest to take down the Andrew Jackson statue last week. You may have seen him in a nose-to-nose confrontation with OAN's Jack Posobiec. This guy actually sought Posobiec out. He sought Jack out several times, trying to get a confrontation going with him. And when they finally showed this guy's face, even before he was arrested, people figured out who he was. That guy, I gotta admit, he looks like a human art. Somebody posted a tweet, I can't find it now. It's a picture of him next to Danny DeVito from Batman Returns, playing the Penguin, and you can see the resemblance. But yeah, he looks kind of exactly like I thought he would. I don't know why they're walking around with masks and goggles and all that crap on. But the point I want to make is Trump was serious. Trump and Barr were serious. A lot of people at the time, a month ago, were saying they're not doing anything. They're not planning to do anything. I don't see anything effective going on. They're just letting these mobs run all over the place. Well, the thing you got to remember is people don't need to just, the best way to put this. You can try to make an intellectual argument to somebody. These guys, they're Marxists. They are anti-American. They hate everything this country stands for. They're against our flag. They're against our national anthem. They're against our founders. They think our founders were evil villains, They're against everything American, and they want to rip up the founding of America and replace it with a communist socialist one. You can intellectually tell people this. This is what they want to do. They want to do this. You can spend years telling people this. But they won't feel it. They won't quite get it. So this might be controversial. Some people might not agree with it. You had to let these people proceed for a time so that the vast middle America out there, the independents and the people that are in the middle, they don't have Trump making claims to them that these people are anti-American. They don't have Republicans or the GOP or conservatives pontificating to them. Those guys over there, they're anti-American. No. We don't have to say shit. Now we don't have to say shit. They can see it. They can hear it. They can feel it. So intellectual argument has its limitations, especially when you're dealing with something like this. That's why I think these people had to be allowed a certain freedom to proceed to the point that literally all of America can see what these goons, I call them the tiny Marxist goon squads. They can literally see what these tiny Marxist goon squads really are, what motivates them, what they're attempting to do. And it's not me telling you what they are. It's not me making claims to you about what they are. It's not Trump making claims to you what they are. They're showing you what they are. And in front of the whole country. So there's value in that. And the thing is, the crackdown is turmoil. A lot of these guys are being rolled up. And remember, this is the federal system. The federal system is very different from the state and local justice systems. The federal system is light years away. District attorney let every single rioter in the city of St. Louis that was arrested, she just let them all go. She didn't even, and the state attorney general of Missouri was astonished to discover that. He even tweeted about it. And that's what you get. You vote Democrats into power in these cities, these deep blue cities and these Democrat cities. And they let all the rioters go. They get the cops after they manage to arrest rioters, they turn around and let them loose. That's how the game is played. Well, the federal system doesn't work like that. And this is why, at the time, even some people on the right were scoffing. Trump and MOAR declaring Antifa and all these anarchist groups terrorist organizations. That doesn't mean anything. If it's going to happen, what good did that do? And now there are like over 800 active cases. 300 more people have been arrested. The cases are being built. They'll be coming out with more in the coming weeks. And they're still not announcing most of these arrests. They're going to wait to roll out the indictments, But there's a lot of people that have been arrested, including the human wreck, Jason Charter. The human wreck that got arrested, okay? They say this guy is facing not just one charge of vandalizing a federal monument. He faces 2 charges. And remember, Trump signed an executive order that it's 10 years in prison if you get convicted of doing this. And it's per charge. You don't just get hit with 1 count of murder for life in prison. You get hit with 2 counts of murder. Well, yeah, if you deface and vandalize 2 statues, you don't get just hit with 1 charge for 10 years. You get hit with 2 charges. So, you see, so when the left, the progressive, socialist, democratic left, there's 3-piece suits, all the corporate sponsors, the Democratic Party bigwigs, they send out these goon squads to start the conversation. Start the conversation about America's systemic racism by rioting and breaking shit and tearing. They expect they're going to be able to do this in the future. Well, Trump and MOAR changed that game. You can forget that. All of their most dedicated foot soldiers are going to end up in prison for years. They're not going to be available. Not like when after Trump wins the election, think about 4 more months with MOAR and every single federal law enforcement agency after these goon squads. How many are going to be left after November? How many are going to still be running around free? I mean, the leadership, the communications, the sponsorship people, the people that make it go. How many of them are going to be left? Well, they're not going to be, if they do get bail, if they get arrested like Jason Charter facing the 2 counts he is, if he gets bail, it's not going to be some, piddling $5,000-$10,000. No, it'll be $250,000. I don't think he's going to be able to come up with it. So you have hundreds of these top organizers and people that have been rolled up, and you have hundreds of the people that were setting fire to police cars, setting fire to buildings, and looting stores that have been rolled up. So as a tactic, you need the people on the ground to make it work. And this is exactly where Trump and MOAR are aiming their response. They're going after the tiny goon squads. They're mapping out who the leadership are. They're mapping out how they communicate with each other. They're mapping out what tactics they use. Like you saw a tactic that they came up with at Mount Rushmore the other day. The tactic of, once again, blocking the road, using 3 vans to block access to Mount Rushmore for about an hour and a half. It didn't really stop anything. I mean, I looked at the schedule. The schedule wasn't really delayed. It just went according to the time frame that it was supposed to run in. So, and tragically, yes, it did keep a couple hundred people from being able to attend that event last night because the road was blocked. They weren't able to get in there on time. But I tell you what, the country watching that, seeing what these people are doing, okay, it's an education, and the country needs to see that. There's nothing that's going to wake people up. That's the thing about this. It wakes people up. We can make intellectual arguments all day. You know, these guys are anti-American. They're lunatics. They're nuts. They're going to try to force people to do what they want. They're going to try, they're going to try to do extreme things like this. And they'll just go, yeah, okay, well, yeah, okay, fine. But when they see it themselves, they hear it themselves, they feel it themselves, that's when it hits home. And so Trump and Barr are decapitating the goon squads. The top people are not going to be available much longer. And many of them have already been arrested. Many of them have already been spotted. And the thing is, people have to understand Trump and his people learn every new tactic they come up with. Trump and his people are going to see that, and they're going to learn, they're going to improvise, they're going to adapt, and they're going to overcome. Okay? So I don't think they're going to get away with the blocking the road with the van trip at the next rally, which I'm sure Trump is going to announce sometime soon. Yeah. Let's move on to the Flynn case. Now, the Flynn case is the sea change that happened in the Flynn case in just the last 2.5 months is incredible. Remember, Johnson was sent in there. Okay, U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Johnson was sent into the U.S. Attorney's office in the District of Columbia in January. We're still not sure what exact date Attorney General William Barr sent Johnson in there. We just know it was early January. And Johnson's in there, and it's quiet, and I think it was like late February. Barr announces that Johnson is there. That's all he just makes a simple announcement. Oh, by the way, I have appointed Jeffrey Johnson, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Missouri, to review the General Flynn case, which at that point, by then, everybody knows that case has gone off the rails. So he's appointed somebody to review it. And, okay, March goes by, and it's like 3 weeks into April 24th, Johnson suddenly surfaces in the courtroom where he's handing off some sealed documents to Flynn's defense team, which is led by Sidney Powell. And immediately there's a lot of media furor over that. And I think it was about 2 days later, all those documents were unsealed, and all hell breaks loose. And we discovered that the FBI had nothing on Flynn. January 4th, they were getting ready to close the case. They had opened up an investigation of him. They couldn't find anything, and the case agent has reloaded the people at the top. Yeah, we can't find anything, so we're going to close this case on General Flynn. And Peter Strzok jumped in there and said, no, don't close it, leave it open. By God, we're going to find something to get this guy on. And then that January 5th meeting happens. And in that meeting, they're sitting around spitballing. They know they have nothing real on this guy. They know they don't have anything real. But they've got to come up with a pretext to keep investigating. They've got to find something. And who should speak up but Vice President Joe Biden? And Biden speaks up and says, hey, how about we use the Logan Act? Yeah, how about we claim that he did something illegal in those phone calls with Kissinger? Yeah, and that'll give the FBI a pretext to send agents to investigate. And so that's what they did. Now, something had to happen first, of course. the intel intercepts of the Kislyak phone call had to be leaked to the Washington Post. That happened on, I believe it was January 11th or 12th. Somebody leaked that to David Ignatius of the Washington Post. So, and immediately, and you got to remember the context in which all this is happening. Hillary lost the election in November 2016. And immediately, Hillary and her campaign launched this idea that the only reason she lost was because Trump cheated with Russian help. The only reason she lost. And so the Russian collusion narrative is already out there that Trump and his people are owned by the Russians. They were driving this before the election, talking about Trump's troubling ties with Putin, his troubling words about Putin, Carly Page's troubling ties with Russia, But after she lost, then it segued into the narrative Trump must have cheated with the Russians' help. And he and his people are in bed with the Russians. That's the only reason he won. And so in this atmosphere, that Ignatius column, where the question is asked, this is very suspicious. Very suspicious. Flynn calling up this Russian ambassador. Did he violate the Logan Act? It's a legitimate question now. And, somebody really needs to investigate that Flynn guy and see if he violated the Logan Act. Yeah. And so once the media had that narrative, which was the sole reason that this leak was made to the Washington Post, was to give them this narrative to run with for about 2 weeks. For a period of about 13 or 14 days, the narrative builds and builds and builds. Yes, serious questions must be asked of General Flynn. What exactly was he doing on that phone call with Ambassador Kislyak? What was he doing? And so they let that build up, and then the FBI moved in to respond to the call to investigate Flynn for violating the Logan Act by sending 2 FBI agents to investigate Flynn in the White House on January 24th. And those 2 agents were Peter Strzok and Joseph Pientka. One got fired from the FBI for bias and for lying to investigators, and the other became a literal ghost. Nobody knows where he is. There's no official word. They think he's in San Francisco somewhere. There's some evidence he's in the San Francisco area, but they ain't talking. He's a literal ghost. Okay. So Flynn gets investigated by the FBI to see if he violated the Logan Act. I still meet people today that think that Trump was investigated for some type of Russian collusion. He was convicted of some type of treason. The media still gets to sell this narrative that Flynn did something in those phone calls that was bad, that was illegal. Well, the fact is, there was nothing illegal on those phone calls, and the phone calls were not illegal. And the Washington Post, and if people don't remember this, the Washington Post itself published a story just the day before Flynn, just the day before Strzok and Pientka showed up to interview Flynn in his White House office, clearing Flynn of any wrongdoing. Let's see if I can find that. The Washington Post published, I thought I had it up, I can't find it. Anyway, so the Washington Post on January 23rd, you could probably Google it and find it, January 23rd, 2017, you can Google the words, Flynn cleared wrongdoing, FBI, and it'll come right up. And this was the day before Flynn, Strzok and Pianka showed up to interview him. So the FBI, and look, the FBI had the phone call transcripts. And so that's where I was going with this. They've had these transcripts for 3.5 years. And they know that Flynn did nothing wrong in those calls. And that's why they held the transcripts back, so they could keep this narrative alive. Well, he must have done something shady. He must have done something wrong. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in trouble. Well, no, that media narrative is garbage, and they've known it. They've known it was garbage all this time. Because just several weeks ago, they finally released the transcripts, and everybody got to see them. And once people were looking at the transcripts themselves, a whole bunch of claims that have been made by the Mueller special counsel and that have been made by the media were shown to be absolutely false. See, Flynn wasn't convicted of doing anything wrong in those phone calls. No, see, this was a process false statement charge. This was a process conviction. Let me explain what a process conviction is. You're investigating somebody for committing crime X. I believe this guy did crime X. And so your federal law enforcement agents go and investigate this guy for crime X. But they can't find any evidence that he actually did it. So, but how can you still get a scalp? How can you still put that guy in prison? Well, I'll tell you. You call him in and you get him to sit down for an interview. And during that interview, you ask him a bunch of tricky questions. And you try to get him to say something that's either false or get him confused to say something that you can claim is false. And then you hit him with a false statement charge. And you say, okay, you didn't commit crime X. We couldn't prove that. But you said something to my investigators that was false, and I'll prosecute you for that. And that's exactly what they did with Flynn. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people haven't figured this out. They still think, well, must have done something on those phone calls. He did jack on those phone calls. The whole reason they send Strzok and Pianka to him is to set him up for a process prosecution. And you can see this in the notes that Prescott made. What's our goal here? And we obviously haven't found any crime this guy committed, so what's the goal here for investigating? We're going to try to get him fired or prosecuted for perjury or whatever. They came right out and admitted they have nothing on the guy. They have nothing on him. But we're out to get him. How can we get him? And then the January 5th meeting happens in the White House with Obama and Rice and Biden and Comey all sitting around spitballing. Obama said, I want to stand by the book, And they know that Flynn has done nothing wrong. He's committed no crimes. And so Biden goes, well, I think we can nail this guy on the Logan Act. I think we can have come up with a pretext to investigate him if we say he violated the Logan Act. And so that's what they did. And then they prosecuted him for a process thing. Not the phone calls, the FBI interview. By claiming he made a false statement to the agents during the interview about the phone call. Yeah, the whole thing is absurd. And of course, right now it's in limbo, waiting to see if Judge Sullivan's going to follow the order he was given by the higher court to dismiss the case. So that's where things stand right now. But I'm just struck by the fact that they finally released the transcripts a few weeks ago. And everybody reads the transcript and goes, what the hell was this all about? There's nothing here. I've known that for 3.5 years, that there was nothing there. But that's why they held those transcripts back, so they could lie to people and they could pretend that, well, he must have done something wrong, must have done something illegal on those phone calls. Bullshit. He never did anything wrong on those phone calls. And the Mueller special counsel and the FBI knew that all the time, and they've been caught. They got caught. Now we're just waiting to see what happened. And I gotta admit, I did not see that plot twist coming. I did not see when they unsealed the latest batch of evidence that Johnson gave to Sidney Powell. I did not see that coming. Strzok's notes right in there saying it was Biden that brought up the Logan Act as a pretext for investigating Flynn to see if they could find something to nail him with. Okay, I did not see, right in the middle of this election, all of a sudden Biden's going to leap into the middle of the Flynn case and be exposed like that. I mean, that I would not have seen that coming. I'm glad it did happen. It's going to make the next 4 months really exciting to see how long the media can keep pretending Biden is not now right in the middle of the Flynn case. How long can they pretend that didn't happen? So moving on, the Ghislaine, I'm not sure if I say her name right. It's got this weird spelling to her name. Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested. I followed the Epstein case from the beginning, and my coverage of that, I tried to emphasize the fact that this guy is one of the best protected guys in the world. I'm convinced he was blackmailing some of the richest, most powerful, and influential people in the world. And he had tripwires everywhere. He had people that would tell him, like when NBC News was getting ready to publish to run something on him, he was able to be not only be alerted about that, but to have it killed. To have the story killed, so they didn't run it. Well, that was ABC News. Sorry, ABC News was going to do that, and he got it killed. They never ran it. That's how come Project Veritas and James O'Keefe wound up doing that huge expo thing, because they killed that story. That's how influential and powerful this guy was. So this is one thing I wanted people to grasp. You do not sneak up on Jeffrey Epstein. It does not happen. He's too well connected. He's got too many people looking out for him. I just posted a link to the very first column I ever wrote for Uncover DC. It was about the Jeffrey Epstein case. And now, of course, because Ghislaine Maxwell got arrested immediately, and all the Democrats, on social media began doing the same damn thing they did when Epstein was arrested early last year. They immediately start saying, "Oh my God, this is about Trump, Epstein and Trump." They're gonna nail Trump for diddling little kids with Epstein. This is awesome. And I watched this happen. I'm like, my God, these morons didn't learn anything the first time. Because they were saying this a year ago when Epstein was first arrested. Oh yeah, Trump's in trouble now. And then when Epstein killed himself, I know the popular narrative out there is that Epstein was killed. Okay. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to pound it to you. I don't think Epstein was murdered. I think he killed himself. Take that for what it's worth. Okay. But when Epstein died, all of a sudden they were doing it. Oh my God, Trump's off the hook. Nothing's going to happen now. God damn you, Trump. And then people say, oh man, the Epstein case is as dead as Epstein. Nothing's going to happen now. It's over, man. He was never, now he'll never talk, like he was ever going to. That's one thing people don't grasp about Epstein. He knew he was never getting out. He was never going to draw another free breath. It didn't matter if he cooperated or not. So for almost a year, that's how it stood. Wow, Epstein case. It's over. Nothing's going to happen. And at the time, I wrote this. And this was my second column about the Epstein case. I'm posting that in my Twitter timeline right now. Why the Epstein case is far from over. And I published that on the date, August 13th, 2019. That the Epstein case was not over. And it wasn't, as the Ghislaine Maxwell arrest demonstrated. Now, one thing I emphasized when Epstein was arrested in that the Teterboro airport was that, okay, that was an amazing operation. This is one of the best protected guys in the world. He has enablers and tripwires everywhere. People that support him, people that look out for him. And somehow he flew from France to New Jersey because he thought it was safe. And then he got wrapped up. He must have been shocked because this does not happen to somebody like him. The FBI sneaking up on him like that does not happen. But it did happen. And he got arrested. And that told me there's some airtight security here with this investigation. They had the Miami Herald story. I talk about that in the first column. That but he didn't hear anything concrete like, yeah, a warrant's been issued for your arrest. I mean, in the past, if he got even the slightest wind that they were coming for him, he never would have come back. He would have stayed in France. This is a guy that owns his own private island. And the guy realizes how rich this guy is. He can wake up in the morning and say, hey, by nightfall, I want to be sunning myself on the beach in the Riviera. And he can make that happen. He owns his own private jets. Okay? So they grabbed this guy, and the investigation was going on for a long time. And the most interesting thing to me about the Epstein investigation, when they went public with it after his arrest, was it was being run out of the Southern District of New York's Public Corruption Unit. Now, SDNY has its own sex crime unit. If this was just a basic run-of-the-mill sex trafficking case, then the sex crimes unit would get this case. But it's not really being run out of that unit, it's being run out of the Public Corruption Unit. And the Public Corruption Unit only handles cases that deal with public officials who engage in illegal and criminal activity. Yeah. Well, that told me that what this case is really about, see, people need to grasp this. Rolling up the pedos, that's the easy part. They had the evidence for that back in 2009. You gotta remember what happened here. They had a viable case with evidence and witnesses that had come forward from 2007 to 2009. If you watch that Epstein documentary on Netflix, they go over this. That was an exhaustive case. They had plenty of evidence. They had plenty of witnesses that came forward. They could have moved on it then. By 2009, at the latest. Instead, what happened? Well, we know what happened. Ashton Kutcher and the other people handling this, who have not been identified yet, haven't really been made public yet, they engineered a sweetheart deal for Epstein and his co-conspirators that were running what was a pedo sex trafficking ring. They were trafficking in underage girls, and calling this an international sex trafficking ring is not exaggerating. They flew these girls to the Caribbean. They flew them to the United Kingdom, and there are probably some other countries. Okay, it was international. And not only was Epstein given what amounted to a ridiculous house arrest for 18 months, but he didn't even serve all of that. All of his fellow pedos who were helping him and that were involved in this sex trafficking ring, They were not only allowed to just walk away, they were allowed to keep their anonymity. They were never publicly identified. I'll tell you what, it's not just one guy, one government official that pulls off something like that. It's not just one guy. You can't say just Alex Acosta did that. There had to have been a network. That's why I'm convinced this is a RICO case. This is a group of public officials that we either bribed or were involved, and they engineered a massive injustice in 2009. They let a pedophile, sex trafficking ring, walk away from justice. And then they got away with it for 10 years. And not until Epstein was arrested when we find out somebody has gone back and they are investigating this and they are going to make these people pay. There is going to be justice. And so now, why did they wait a year and another year to arrest Maxwell? Well, I don't have any answers. Nobody, SDNY, tells me anything. I don't have them on the Rolodex. They don't DM me. We don't talk. I don't know why. As a matter of fact, I don't even know what she was even doing in the U.S. What was she doing here? Why didn't she just, not like she doesn't have the ability to leave the country. I mean, either they surprised her like they surprised Epstein, or she did a deal. And she's been arrested and everything, because she had to face the music. But I wouldn't be surprised if she had done a deal and she agreed to come in now. So we're only watching the surface. We don't know everything that's going on below the surface. Okay. But I thought that was amazing. And the story is she's trying to hide out in this new house she had bought. So I think it was Connecticut. And she's trying to hide out there. She's hoping the FBI won't find her. I'm not sure I buy that. So there's a lot of things going on here on the surface that don't make sense. But one thing I do know, the pedos aren't the real targets here. That's the easy part. They had all the evidence to wrap these pedos up for a decade or more. No, this is about the public officials that engineered a massive injustice and denied all those victims. So, right, remember, there was a recent court decision that in setting up that outrageous plea deal with Epstein and his lawyers, Acosta and others violated the rights of the victims by not keeping them informed and not even giving them a chance to say anything before they made that plea deal. That's what a federal judge wrote. The victims' rights were violated. And then Bowman gets fired, like 2 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden this arrest happens. So yeah, a lot of people are asking questions now. That just doesn't look right. Was Berman sitting on this? I mean, it's easy to get that impression. I can't prove that, with evidence, but it doesn't look good. Almost right after he's forced out, this Maxwell arrest happens. It's amazing since Donald Trump became president, all these people that, everybody, but nobody can do anything. It was an open secret, like Bill Cosby. I have a friend named Thomas Wicker, and he was a music journalist. He used to hear at parties decades ago people talking about Bill Cosby and his proclivity. Talking about Bill Cosby. So look, everybody knows it's an open secret, but you can't touch these people. These people are untouchable. You don't get them. You don't get to go after a Bill Cosby. You don't get to go after a Harvey Weinstein. You can't touch a Matt Lauer. You can't do any of this. Surprise! Just like somebody changed the game. I just have an interesting theory, okay? Okay, I understand what I'm about to say that this is a theory, all right? I can't prove this. Trump gave an order. You tell these victims if they come forward, they will be taken care of, they'll be protected. That's what I think happened. And all of a sudden, Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein and Matt Lauer and Jeffrey Epstein, their days were numbered. That's my theory. And all these people, and it's always why it's so funny to me watching all these liberals out there. Oh, yeah, Trump's a secret kitty diddler. He was diddling kids with Epstein. And they're on his trail. And it's like, I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my God. People haven't learned anything. Trump was the most thoroughly vetted presidential candidate in history. His past is scorched earth. So many people have investigated him. The idea that somehow Trump was having sex with underage girls with Epstein on his private island or his jet or whatever, or at his mansion in New York, or his ranch in New Mexico or whatever. Somehow, for you to believe that for 3.5 years, as the Democrats and the media have tried to use scorched earth tactics against this guy, somehow his big secret has been managed to be suppressed. That he's a kitty diddler. Okay, this is absolutely insane. People are insane. Okay, you've lost your minds. If Trump was a perv, if he was a pedo, it'd have come out years ago. They'd have found the evidence years ago. You're fooling yourself. Okay? So I watched this happen ever since the Maxwell arrest. All the people on social media, yeah, okay, coming for you, Trump. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, you can't, every now and then, the stupidity of some people just absolutely surprises even me. So, of course, the time will go on and the case will develop and more will come out. And every single time there's a new development, you'll see all the usual morons. Yeah, they're coming for Trump. It's hysterical. So that's why, the operational security on this case is airtight. I know pretty much Acosta's in trouble. They're going to be taking a good look at Acosta. Some of the other people that were involved in this, nothing's leaked yet. So that's one thing about this case. There are no leaks. When it's something really important and the DOJ is handling it, nothing leaks. These people are serious. These people are professional. Okay, let's move on to our fifth topic for the night. The truth about hydrochloroquine. I have to say that way. I'm just going to say HCQ, okay? HCQ plus AZT, or whatever it is. The truth came out. There was a scientific study that was released. It was a large study in Detroit. They released the figures that HCQ cut the death rate from COVID in half. Okay, and even CNN was forced to report this. In a surprising study. Yeah, I'll bet that was surprising. I bet it was surprising to CNN. A surprising study, HCQ was proven to be effective in lowering the mortality rate of this virus. We watched insanity the last couple of months just because Trump mentioned the drug and how promising it looked early on. You had the entire media lose their damn minds. You had them screaming that Trump had caused a woman to poison her husband in Arizona with fish tank cleaners. Okay, that actually happened. They blamed Trump for that. Some woman poisoned her husband. with fish tank cleaning. And they carried on for weeks with this crap. And then they were attacking HCQ governors, passed executive orders. Now, don't you use this? It was insane. Just because Trump was talking about how promising it looked, and there were people that were using it, and they were getting positive results. You had all these people screaming for him to shut up about it, saying he's evil, saying irresponsible by discussing this, and this is a deadly drug, and people need to stay away from it. We even had Cavuto on Fox. He's absolutely embarrassed himself over the past 2-3 months on this. So, once again, whatever Trump is for, they're against. It's like a reflex. It's like a natural Trump for this, so they're going to attack it. Trump comes out and mentions the HCQ was having positive results for people who were seriously sick. I mean, it can prevent you from getting the virus, but they were giving it to people who were really sick with it, and it cut the mortality rate in half. And Trump just mentioned this early on, that some doctors were talking about how they were getting positive results from that. And we watched Democrats and the media lose their minds. I wonder how many people ended up dying in some of these states where these governors and wrote executive orders forbidding medical personnel to use HCQ. Because this insanity is getting people killed. And I'm telling you guys, it does matter who wins elections. It does matter who's running your town, who's running your state, who you send to Congress. It matters. Don't tell yourself it doesn't matter, because I think there are plenty of examples. We'll be seeing this. It will be documented, and we'll be able to go back and look at them. Well, this insanity got people killed. So just the truth came out with this Detroit study about HCQ. Everybody now realizes that they've been lying their asses off about HCQ. It was just TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. That's all it was. They were just deranged against Trump. And so he was saying positive things about HCQ. So it's like they were literally compelled to attack it. That's where we're at with the left in this country. And final subject for tonight. This is one that's surprising. You may not have heard a lot about this. 54 scientists and counting with ties to China have been fired or forced to resign by the National Institute of Health. I'm going to link to you a video from my fellow co-worker at the Epoch Times. You'll see this coming up on my Twitter account right now. This is from Josh J. Phillips. And he did an amazing video where he talks about 54 scientists. This is not those people who've been arrested. That's different. I did a thought on that I'll link in a minute. These were the scientists who were found to have ties to the Chinese regime, that they were hiding from the National Institute of Health to get research grants and dollars. And they were hiding the fact that they were double dipping. They were taking money from the Chinese too. They got caught, and 54 of them have resigned or been fired. So I just linked that video from follow him if you haven't yet. He's a great guy. Now I'm going to link this thread that I did back on May 15th. This is the one about all the Chinese, well, not all Chinese, they're all university professors and researchers that ended up being arrested over the last couple months for spying for China. Now, the most prominent of those people was Dr. Charles Lieber of Harvard University. That made big news when he got arrested. But it's not just him. There are almost more than a dozen others since January that have been arrested, and there are federal cases being built against them. So I'm just going to briefly call out the different universities. I go through the thread. Like I say, in this one I just retweeted, a simple Google search will reveal something the national news media has been downplaying. Professor in Arkansas was arrested on fraud charges. Professor in Tennessee arrested on hiding China ties from NASA. West Virginia, former West Virginia professor pleads guilty to federal fraud charge involving China. Kansas professor charges secretly working for the Chinese government. Now, that was just a brief Google search that I did at the time. I found plenty of other examples that I didn't link, but there has been a crackdown going on for some time. It's not, okay, I think it's most, I'm babbling, let me say, I think it was the famous sentence here. Most of the arrests started in January, but ever since then, it's snowballed. Most of these people had to do with something called the Chinese 10 Talents program, which is what China's been using that to infiltrate American universities. They've been approaching people and offering them money to facilitate the theft of technology and research. And they were getting a lot of money from this. Lieber, I think, got something like $500,000 a year. I mean, this was not chump change. This was a lot of money. He was he's already getting money and research grants from the American government. So these people have been double dipping. They're taking money from the U.S. federal government and they're taking money from China. And you just know China's not giving them that money unless they're getting something in return for it. So a lot of these guys have been caught selling research and selling technology. Here's the thing about a communist system. It's not a system that encourages innovation. Totalitarians and tyrants and vile communist scum, they don't really encourage creativity of thought and the people that they rule over. So a communist system, it's about a far cry from an American system that you can get. And so this is why the only way they can keep up with us, the only way they can compete with us is by stealing our tech, by stealing our research. That's the only way they can do it. And under Obama, they were absolutely it was absolutely amazing how much tech and stuff they were stealing out of this country every year. They were stealing billions of dollars worth. It wasn't just the trade deficit, the bad trade deal that we were on. Obama, Biden were asking letting China steal billions of dollars worth of proprietary technology out of this country every year. And that was one of the first things Trump said about changing once he became president. And after 3.5 years, they were ready, and they finally started going after the Chinese infiltration of our university system this year. They have built the cases against these people, and they started making the arrests. Lieber of Harvard, his arrest made the biggest splash in January, but there are plenty of others, and you can find them if you Google. They're being they're all over the country, not just in the Northeast. Kansas, Tennessee, California, Berkeley, all these other different universities. You have these scientists being rolled up. So China was sending all this money in here, paying for all of this tech stuff, and it was all the stuff was going back to China, and nobody was stopping it until Trump got elected. And Trump is cracking down on it. And if you go back and look through all the U.S. attorneys, the U.S. attorney webpage of the DOJ. You can find that pretty easily. Every single one that's related to China. I mean, there's a massive amount of Chinese related investigations underway right now. Um, a massive amount, something like 800 cases, I think I saw recently, where spying, plenty of illegal activity, like where most of a lot of the American media is actually taking money from China. The Washington Post, the New York Times, all these DNC media outlets are taking Chinese money, where they basically run Chinese propaganda as news coverage. And some people in Congress are trying to crack down on this. But it's amazing the amount of influence China has had in this country, and they were allowed to build it up to this point. And it's only since Trump got in there, he's starting to reverse it and crack. That was the interesting video from Josh J. Phillip. I hope you watched that. If you get the chance, it's well worth the time. That it's not just a bunch of scientists getting arrested. The National Institute of Health has started cracking down too. They went out and found 54 scientists that were double dipping and taking money from the Chinese, and they either forced them all to resign or fired them. So there's a lot going on out there. And of course, this is all happening with the CCP virus in the background. They unleashed the pandemic on the whole world. They lied about it. They lied about it. They let all these people fly out of China all over the world. They carried that virus with them to all the different continents, all the different countries. And we're still dealing with the after effects of what those evil CCP regime leaders did. They decided to lie their asses off to the world when something could have been done to contain this thing. And so Trump understands the Chinese threat. And even though the mainstream media doesn't talk about that, they complain about it. Oh, you guys are so hung up on China. China's fine. China's our pal. Just listen to Joe Biden. China's our buddy. It's Russia you should be paying attention to. They do all this stuff. And so they downplay the Chinese threat. They downplay all the news about all these scientists being arrested or forced to resign or be fired or being fired because they've been allowing the theft of American technology. And so Trump is shutting all that down. Pretty soon China, they won't be able to keep up with us. They won't be able to compete with us. The only way they've been able to do it in many areas is because they've been stealing our stuff. And Trump isn't going to let that continue. Okay, well, so that's our 4th of July live stream. That's all the subjects I had ready to talk about. So we live in an amazing time. We live in a time where everything's coming together. Everything's coming together. That speech Trump made at Mount Rushmore last night, that clearly set the tone for the next 4 months. Biden's going to have to get out there and try to explain, why people need to support him when he's becoming a figurehead for the fixing America's systemic racism. Whereas Trump is over there saying, I'm fighting for the American founding, and it's going to be an amazing campaign. We have a lot to look forward to. Watching the Democrats run an actual dementia patient. And you notice this? I wear hearing aids. If you look, you can always see Biden has a listening device with a wire in his ear. He's actually to the point, he's being fed his answers. See, he's at the point now, even when he's sitting down with the notes in front of him, and he has the earpiece, and they're telling him what to say, the guy is struggling. And I know a lot of people like to speculate and they wonder what's going to happen. Is he going to be replaced? at the virtual convention that isn't really a convention, where all the delegates are going to stay home. And all the delegates aren't going to Milwaukee. You know that, right? They're going to hold a virtual convention. They're going to replace Biden at the virtual convention? I honestly don't know. There's an argument to be made that as bad as his condition is now, wouldn't they have replaced him by now if they were going to do that? I mean, so it's going to be an interesting 4 months to the election. That it looks like they could end up sticking with this guy. Now I got to tell you, I don't see Joe Biden beating Donald Trump. I really don't. Joe Biden has been a Washington insider since 1972. See, it would be comical, the idea that Biden is going to go in there and change the Washington, D.C. system in any way. It would be absolutely comical to believe that. But the Democratic Party is telling you to take this seriously. Yes. A guy who's been a Washington insider for almost 50 years, you're supposed to believe he's going to get in there and shake things up. A guy who's been selling his offices, for almost as long as I've been alive. I think I was like 6 or 7 years old when Biden won that. I think it was what year was it? 1972. I was 8 years old. He's been there a long time. And so the idea that they're still presenting him to you as some kind of, this is the guy who's going to get it done. Okay, Biden was a backbencher his entire career. His first 2 runs for the presidency were derailed by his own lies and his own plagiarism. It was the best thing in the world that ever happened to him was when Obama tapped him to be his vice president. After another embarrassing failure at running for president, Obama tapped him. And then he was in there for 8 years. And so Biden's basically running for the 3rd Obama term. You want to go back to Obama? Great. Biden's your guy. Okay, so it's going to be a fun 4 months. I can't wait to see what happens. Thanks for watching. God bless you. God bless America. And good night.